Why, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lake of Voices. I gotta admit, this has been a long time coming. I found that when I do one of these videos, it takes a very long time. Most likely, or actually, I take all the blame for that, but you need to get a bunch of time together to go through a full run. And so it's hard to find a big chunk of time to get to record all at once. But today, I have found some time, and what I plan to do is I plan to do a complete run. I will do the normal skipping thing that I've been doing lately, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Bemelle and Margaret, and of course the guide, all the way to the center island. I'm going to forego picking up Lou. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the three plus Kikka up to the center island. We're going to save. And then what I plan to do is plan to see what it looks like when we do a favoring or do the event of one of the people on the center island, and then going from there. So this run, I think, will be a bit longer than the subsequent ones because maybe not, because we're skipping through anyways. But today, I'm going to bring all of the people up except for Lou, and we're going to go through Bemelle's his storyline. Hopefully, having additional people there, such as Margaret, will prevent the, I don't want to say bad ending, but not so good ending, where he kind of like is a little detached at the end. Hopefully, this run will allow him to be more, more himself. It's going to be tough because it feels like he would want to try to save Lou, but I don't know how feasible that would be. I heard that you can get Lou to the other side, but that's going to be very difficult. So, all right, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start the run, but I will be making choices and skipping a lot of dialogue up until we get through to the center island. Just give me a moment, please. All right, so we are skipping through dialogue. We will be choosing... In this one, I would choose to sympathize with Bemelle.
I know you.
And we shall continue skipping along. We need to keep going.
I believe you.
Yep. Because otherwise, we end up not going through Sinnlos at all. So that's the choice that we need to go with. All right. So let's place our hand over his to deepen our relation with him. It feels like there's something going on between Bemelle and Kikka to begin with, and let's just foster that and see where this goes. Alright. We pull him forward so he doesn't die. Oh man, it was tough seeing him die the first time. Alright, and we're gonna continue skipping through. Oh wait, let me... Alright, so at this point, this is where we decide whether or not we're going to move up forward and with Bemelle, right? Where Bemelle will be in the center because he no longer has a light. But this will cause Margaret to be at the end, which I don't think we want to do. I think what we want to do is have Margaret in the middle still, because if she's pulling up the rear, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. So let's keep the current format.
So you're staying behind?
Yeah, so Kikka will stay behind instead of Margaret staying behind. I feel like Margaret, if she were pulling up the rears, like, it would be bad. I really, really think so. So we're going to skip, and let's not turn, because this is where we need to save Margaret. Yeah, Bemelle, yeah, Yep, she turned the wrong path. So by not turning, we can get her to safety. So we're gonna encourage her to keep going, because if we encourage her, that is what she's looking for. As we found out in Margaret's run, she is looking for validation. She's looking for encouragement, confidence to be able to work through things herself. So we're going to encourage her. All right, then we'll skip forward. I did a skip, but this is different. All right, so it skipped forward, right? And it stopped there. Okay. In this case, let me read over it. This is a little different. So, this is the point where Kikka and Bemelle jump. Okay. Because we had pushed Margaret over the gap in order to get her across the gap that was forming after the bridges were falling apart. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned, if none of this is making any sense to you, this is not the first run you should be looking for. You should be going through some of the earlier runs where we actually go through the choices. My suggestion is the very first one. That way you can keep up with how things are going and progressing. With some of the feedback I've gotten from these episodes, I don't think that you'll be disappointed by doing so, but yeah. Moving back onto topic here, this is where the bridges were falling apart. We pushed Margaret over the gap, and now this is where Bemelle and Kikka jump over the gap, but because they're more athletic, because of their job, they're able to get through the gap, whereas Margaret, if you just left her alone, she would have fallen into the water and perished. All right, let me just take a quick sip of water, please. Just one moment. I may have been drinking a fermented beverage, and I'm okay saying with that because one, YouTube has not monetized me yet, and also there are other fermented beverages that are quite suitable for the younger audience, such as kombucha. That's fermented, right? Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. We dash to the bridge's edge and leap. Cold air rushes past my face, winding its fingers into my hair. For an instant, I think I see something moving under the surface of the water. Then we land hard on the wooden bridge. Bemelle lets out a sigh of relief as we both creakily get fully back on our feet. He gently runs a thumb over the top of my hand before he releases it. There's a clear sense of affection to it. Oh, yeah! Yeah, we getting with our boy?
Stay close. We need to run.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, keep on, babe. My behind. You get a good view. Yeah, son.
I'll be right behind you.
Sorry. Like I said, fermented drink. I take off, not bothering to ensure Bemelle is staying true to his word. I know he'll follow. Yeah, 'cause of that booty, girl. The guide's fading light bounces in the distance, a clear signal that he's still running. I focus everything I have on catching up. Slowly, we begin to close the distance. Okay, I think we're now at a point that we can skip. But yeah, that was different. Because now he is like... Bemelle is like extra close. That's a sign. That's a sign that we're getting more affection points for his character. All right, yeah, and we skip through here. Let's not say anything and let's not do anything. And we will let Lou go on his way. Yeah, we can't risk it. Margaret and Bemelle stare at the man as he leaves. We all watch him drag his little frame down the bridge, quickly fading from sight. We had to let him go. We've only barely been surviving so far. The space the man vanished into is dark and silent. We can see and hear nothing of him, not even his footsteps. Margaret says, maybe we should call him back? We can at least give him directions, tell him what paths we've been taking.
It's not going to make any difference. We can't give directions when the bridges we were on might very well have sunken away.
And not only that, but the guide has said in one of the previous runs that the paths change all the time. So even if you knew of the direction to go, it's not likely to be the correct one or the same one even. So yeah, there's no point in giving directions. It's just he's on his own at this point.
We shouldn't focus on what might become of him. He has his own path to follow, and we ours. We should focus on what we're doing now.
That's right. Stay firm, Kikka. Of course, it's not really a might, but we have to get through this somehow. And being weighed down with guilt will only distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. And then here there's the fire that happens. So let me go back a couple, refresh myself on what happens here.
Don't get left behind.
Let me see. Oh, yes.
This is insane!
Alright.
What are you planning?
Yeah, so this is where they found prowlers up ahead, and the guide throws the like he had a little, I don't know, I want to say Molotov cocktail, but it's not a Molotov cocktail. But yeah, he throws something, creates a fire on the bridge, and we weren't here before. Usually when I go through here, I choose to go with Lou, and so Kikka is left behind. She generally doesn't see this part of what happens unless, or at least in my previous runs, unless we didn't pick Lou up. So I'm gonna continue from this point and see where we go. The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We've already lost a lantern and it's only our first day. We can't keep doing this.
Yeah, they use a lantern, I guess.
Yes, we can't lose a lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through his coat with his free hand.
What are you planning?
Bemelle's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch, then opens a latch on his lantern.
Wait, are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
Oh, my boy knows. It definitely catches fire.
It will. We're going to run.
Oh, he knew that. He knew that.
This is insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire.
That's also a good point, but you've got the guide with you.
And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
Yeah. The prevailing wisdom is that without the guide, you're pretty much dead. Like, you are dead. And since he chose to go without the rest of the party, yeah, Lou is a dead man at this point. And the lanterns they're the safety net. You need them. And they've already lost one in order to avoid being killed by the Nixi so far, by the prowlers. So they can't lose another one. They're not even halfway across Sinnlos. He says it with such detached certainty. It's as if he saw it happen himself. No one argues with him. The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall into step behind him, staying close to his back. He bends his lantern back down until it is lowered to his outstretched arm. The pouch in his hand is set aflame. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he swings the staff back and up. The glass on the lantern snaps closed.
Don't get left behind.
Yeah, because, like he said, they're gonna run. He takes 3 quick steps, then tosses the pouch. The prowlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands. As soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint, and so do the rest of us. The blaze grows, despite the heavy dampness from the lake. These bridges aren't normal. Of course, that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully, they won't collapse with the flames. We stay on the guide's heels almost too close for comfort. If he stops abruptly, we'll all crash into one another, maybe even fall off the bridge. Then the world tilts. I was mid-stride. When I put my foot down, the bridge isn't even where it was. It lurches to one side, either because it was weakened or pushed. Bemelle and I managed to keep our ground, but Margaret falls to the ground. At least, I thought that was what happened. She starts pawing the bridge. My glasses fell off. I can't see. The guide, having regained his balance, presses on. He doesn't even bother to look at her. Bemelle and I run to Margaret, scanning the bridge, but there's no sign of her glasses. The flames are growing thicker and closer, the heat life-sucking, close enough to nip at her heels. I grab Margaret's arm.
Your glasses aren't here anymore. We have to go or we'll lose the guide.
For real. Margaret squints up at me, face paler than ever. She nods and stands, and we start after her, the guide again. As our storm of feet thunder across the boards, a silver sliver begins to rise into view just above the edge of the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint and suddenly make out the craggy forms of land and earth. I see it. We're almost there. Safety at long last in sight. New energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once the bridge ends and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth. Solid earth. A haven from the water. I catch my breath while still moving further away from the dark shoreline. I can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. When night falls once more, we have to do it all over again. A heavy arm falls across my shoulders, and I straighten to see Bemelle smiling wearily at me.
Good work out there.
You know it, son. You know it. It's not the usual commendation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. It ends flatly. With a sigh, he leans his head to the side, having it rest slightly against mine. Usually, Bemelle's comfort and good nature gives me at least the urge to smile, but right now, it feels like a hollow victory. He moves to face Margaret, who is squinting at the surrounding area.
Good work out there.
This statement is more energetic. He's not willing enough to show a lack of confidence in front of her. Margaret smiles slightly. Yeah, because he's a guard, right? Like a soldier, so for the general populace, the citizenry, he can't show weakness. He has to be confident in order to instill confidence in the rest of them, to know that they're protected, that they know that they're safe. But with Kikka is his commander, his superior, so he can do that because it's her job to instill confidence in him. But it's interesting that, we kept the two of them alive, and he is much more positive than when Margaret was lost. So, and he seems to be much closer. Let me say he's not in the friend zone. Dude is not in the friend zone. Good for you, my guy. Hopefully we see more of this to come and see how this develops.
How are you doing without your glasses?
Oh, I'll manage. I have to, after all. I'm not completely blind, thankfully, so I can muddle my way through.
So she's probably nearsighted, but it sounds like it's to a point where she can still see shapes and objects, hopefully at night. So as long as she can see the bridges, she should be fine because she can still make her way across.
There isn't anything much to see out on those bridges.
That's true.
As
like
long
I was
as
saying.
you stay away from the edge, you should be as safe as you were before.
Yeah, as long as you can actually stay within the bridge and not over the edge, and you're gone.
That's true. It will be fine.
And then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that his steps on the soft sand are nearly silent, and his dusky clothes blend with the thinning of the night. I wonder if he chooses his apparel, thinning with the night, if he chooses that in order to blend in with the night as maybe a defense mechanism against the Nixi, perhaps. But yeah, I guess also maybe like the light steps is also a thing, because even though they're on land, the prowlers can come up on land. And so maybe not having his steps be audible is it's a trick of the trade, so to speak.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Yeah, like, they could still come up on land.
Is that why you decided to set the bridges on fire? To make the island safer?
The guide looks at Margaret for what I suddenly realize might be the only second or third time all night.
Setting the bridges alight isn't an uncommon strategy. It has many uses.
Yeah, but it's super dangerous. He walks away, Margaret frowning at his retreating form. Yeah, she wanted to know, as we found out in the Margaret run, that she wanted to take over his job. She wanted to be the guide, or be the next guide, or be another guide, in order to have a job that she could do, that she could feel comfortable, that she could feel good at, and that nobody would balk at, that they wouldn't be mean, or they wouldn't be putting her down. And so she wanted to know so that she could actually understand how the guide does his job. Come. The guide takes us to an area a bit further inland, but not too far from the water. Trees partially obscure our location, and there's enough room to watch the coasts in case prowlers start to emerge from the water. Essentially, it's a place where an ambush would be hard.
If any of you see anything at all, speak up. We don't want them to sneak up on us.
Almost automatically, each member of the group turns to a different location. For a brief second, I feel a flicker of pride. This night may have been awash with misery, but we're still here for each other. As the sky continues to fade from pale purple to a muted blue, the waters stay silent. For the first time, nothing happens. It is a miracle. Suddenly, my chest is lighter and the air is fresher. The first pricks of light appear over the horizon, stinging my eyes after such a long journey through darkness. A sound catches my attention and I move my focus towards its direction. The guide is opening the latch on his lantern again. He gently, almost respectfully, blows out the light.
We no longer have to worry about the Nixi. It is over for today.
I still don't know about this guy. Like, I'm getting the impression, mostly from comments, but not specifically from the game, but it seems that he is a genuine person, but I don't know. Like, if I'm just going off of the hints that the game's given me so far, it feels like, I don't know, maybe there's something sinister going on with him. I still don't know yet. I'm undecided, but maybe we'll learn more once we do the guide run. So, yeah. I'm almost unable to keep tears of relief from pouring out of those words. We made it through the night. We survived. No one feels the need to speak. We look at each other, an understanding passing between us. Then we find our own space, as comfortable as we can get, and lie down for the rest we weren't sure would ever come. My eyes slowly blink open and readjust to the brightness, what little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop up my elbows and push myself up. The ground is hard and rocky, but that isn't the only reason I'm eager to get on my feet. I check my surroundings. The harsh, craggy earth of the island is interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bemelle and Margaret are still fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realize that I don't recall seeing him lay down with everyone. It's likely he has left us hours ago. What is it with this guide that he puts them in a safe area, right? Or a relatively safe area so that they could rest during the day. But where does he go? Does he not sleep? He needs to sleep, right? Because if he's if anybody needs rest in order to stay attentive, it's him, right? Because he's the one leading everyone, presumably through safety. So he would be the one that is probably the most tired. Despite him being as athletic as he seems to be, being able to run as quickly and deftly as he was able to, I don't know. Like, why is he moving out? Does he not sleep? Does he not sleep as much as everyone else? If this is his job, that's gonna wear on you mentally, doesn't it? Like, consistently, night after night, every night, making plans with people to take him across the bridge, worrying. Like, the next time you cross the bridge could be your last. I know he's been doing it a while, but the sense is that if you cross the bridges enough, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But he's been doing it for so long now. That's gonna weigh it down on you, right? If you're a human, I mean, I still haven't taken away the possibility that he could be a spirit of some sort, maybe, or a Nixi himself, like one that can exist outside. I mean, he can get off the bridges, but so can the Nixi, because they can get on the center island. But maybe he's like a special one, because he can get to the other shores, and he can exist during the day because at the end, we know that he reports to the village elders to let them know that people have crossed and if they have died. So, I don't know. Maybe that in itself is proof that he's not a Nixi, because he can exist during the day and speak to people off the water, well onto land, and he does get paid by them. So, but I mean, that doesn't take away possibility that could be a spirit. Yeah. So, sorry, let's continue. There's a creeping silence here. I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside of me. It refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memory of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Bemelle wakes suddenly, rising with alarm and startling Margaret awake as well. My mouth opens, then shuts, and after a moment of fumbling, a word finally escapes.
Hello.
Bemelle gives me a gentle smile and makes his way over to me. Margaret follows suit.
Morning.
Yeah, he's much more chipper than when he was the only one that survived along with Kikka.
Is it even morning anymore?
Well, you slept through most of it. Margaret tries to speak lightheartedly. However, it doesn't do much to improve the mood. A pocket of silence descends over us.
We should eat something soon. Margaret, do you have enough supplies?
Yes, I think I'll be alright with what I have.
That's a relief. The two of us have plenty of rations, though, so if you need anything, you can always ask.
Yeah, soldiers, you gotta be prepared. Margaret sighs and presses her fingers to her temples, acting as if she's fed up with us.
You know, the two of you need to stop looking out for everyone else so much.
But you know, yeah, it's kind of their job, you know? I mean, I gotta say that Bemelle and Kikka are probably, they're going above and beyond the call of duty. And not the game, but, you know, the sense of responsibility that they have, that they share regarding to Margaret. Because, you know, they have a duty, which is to get to the other side to help out against the brigands that are attacking the town. But looking over Margaret is just, I guess, they feel as an extension of that duty for the public good. And so, I mean, it is kind of their job. It's not exactly their job to look after her specifically, but I mean, it is their job as, I guess, like, sort of policemen for the period to be able to look after the public. Bemelle winces at the statement without vocalizing what's on his mind. Margaret and I share a glance. This is about the person we left behind yesterday. The person we didn't help. Oh, I wonder if this is going to come to bite us. I wonder if this is going to cause us to not have a good ending with him, that we didn't bring him along. I don't know. I guess I'll have to do another series of run when I bring Lou along with us, but whew, yeah. Actually, is that even possible? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out.
I'm sorry. I didn't intend.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, it's not. We, Bemelle and Kikka, didn't do anything either. Just kind of let him go. It goes quiet between us once more. A distinct rustling of the leaves around catches my attention. The guide appears, emerging from the thicket. Margaret appears to be a little uncomfortable at his return. Bemelle glares at him as he makes his way over.
The Nixi will not tread on land in daylight. However, being near the shoreline is still dangerous. If you leave the center of the island, remain cautious. Before the sun sets, I will be in this area. It would be wise to meet me here before nightfall.
Why did we have to leave him behind?
I sharply turn towards Bemelle as he snarls and confronts the guide.
If you would just let him follow behind us, he would be alive.
The guide looks away, seemingly unaffected.
If all you're going to do is leave everyone to be lost, then why bother guiding us at all?
I mean, Mandam's asking some pretty good questions. Despite Bemelle's severe words, the guide apparently considers his piece here finished. He turns towards the forested area from which he came.
Wait!
Bemelle calls out to the guide, reaching towards him. Before he can make contact, I quickly place a hand on his shoulder. He lowers his arm to his side, though I can still feel wrath emanating from him. We stay this way until the guide disappears from view. Bemelle begins to kick at the ground, spraying tiny pieces of gravel about.
Bemelle, I know you're angry, but regardless of our feelings, we need the guide. If he leaves us, we'll all die.
That is 100% true. 100%.
And we've done so well with him.
We could have done worse, right? We could have done a lot worse without him. I give him a cold glance. We won't even know which bridge to take without the guide. Bemelle knows that. This needs to stop. There are people counting on us to make it back. And what of Margaret?
We can't afford to lose our way.
Yeah, stay strong, Kikka. The anger etched to his face. The anger etched into his expression fades into sadness.
You're right, Kikka. You're right.
I understand that Bemelle is feeling a lot of feelings. He wears his emotions on his sleeves, and he's a good guy. He wanted to save Lou. He wanted to do what was right, but he knew that he needed to save the village and not risk the village having fallen or being taken over by brigands to save one dude. His duty was to the village, and he knew that, but he's upset that that isn't something that he could do anything about. Yeah, the guy didn't want to have anything to do with Lou, but that wasn't his problem. That's not anything that he has to take up on himself, because if he felt Lou was a threat, why would you bring that along with you when you have these 3 other people that you need to take care of, or at least to the best of your ability, because they are crossing Sinnlos after all. So yeah, I think Bemelle is just upset, and I can understand that he's upset. It's just, what are you gonna do? He weakly swats his hand in front of his face, as if he's trying to shoo away his racing thoughts.
I can't stay here right now.
Yeah, I hear you, my guy. I nod, allowing him to leave alone. Beside me, Margaret releases a sigh.
Are you all right?
No, I'm not. Nothing is all right. It will never get any better.
Yeah, she's having a rough time too, because if you've seen the Margaret run, she's feeling a lot of things because she wanted to be useful. She wanted to be able to replace the guide. She was looking for a place to belong, a place where she can strive, succeed, and she thought that this crossing Sinnlos as the guide was going to be it because she's intelligent, but it didn't work out because she doesn't have the same knowledge, the same experience as the guide, and clearly at this point she knows that 100%, and she's just mad at herself that the one thing she thought she could do to make herself better, to improve, to prove herself, to make herself feel worthy, ended up not being the thing. It didn't work out, and now she's lost, and it sucks. That's a terrible feeling. Margaret sucks in a breath as she starts to get emotional. Before it can spill out of her, she turns on her heels and walks off in a different direction than the guides. Quietly, I speak. Alright, so I'm going to go back one, and I'm going to save here. So let's save in this slot. And I'm going to use this save for the next run. I think I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do Bemelle, and then I'm going to use this save to go through and initiate a conversation with the guide. And for the Margaret one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Margaret-centric options that leading up to this point and see where that goes. But for now, today on this run, we're doing Bemelle. So I hope those of you who are looking forward to a Bemelle run, I hope you are feeling happy today watching this one. Alright, I have to see Bemelle. Lingering for only a moment, I start following the trail Bemelle took. It doesn't take him long to notice I'm there, and he slows his pace so I can easily catch up. We fall into step for a short while, neither of us speaking. Eventually, we come to a thick stand of trees and wordlessly weave our way through the branches. Once we're hidden by the foliage, Bemelle leans against the tree trunk, head hung low. Negativity radiates off of him, but I don't know what I should say. Fortunately, he breaks the silence.
I apologize for back there.
Yeah, he just feels things, and he can't hold back who he is. And yeah, I guess things happen before his brain kicks in, you know. And yeah, I guess he's used to apologizing for stuff like this because, you know, he's true to his feelings. He's true to himself. And I think in today's age, with people the way they are today, that is something to be admired. Because a lot of people, they don't do the same, where they acknowledge their own feelings and they try to hide within the wall that they built to protect themselves. But you need to acknowledge your feelings. You need to understand your feelings and who you are in order to grow and in order to figure things out, figure out what you need to do, how you need to act in order to make yourself be successful, to be confident in yourself, to be sure of yourself. I think, yeah, more people need to be in touch with their emotions. Like, in summary. I nod firmly. His reply isn't unexpected. For as long as I have known Bemelle, he has a tendency to let his temper flare, then regret it later, after processing his thoughts.
I know that dealing with these sorts of situations calmly is part of the job. I cannot tell myself everything is fine or that none of it matters. Sure, I can feel something without it being anger, but I've not figured that out either.
Yeah, you and a lot of people, man. Yeah, that's a lot of people. They don't know why they're angry. Rather than speak, I try to listen as supportively as I can while Bemelle continues to argue with himself. He sighs while pensively rubbing the bridge of his nose.
Am I simply being foolish? Would it really have been so harmful to try and help someone else instead of focusing solely on oneself? It looks to me like we're telling ourselves these lines to avoid responsibility.
I mean, he brings up a good point there. Like, is it selfishness that they didn't try more to do more to help him? I mean, one could argue that it is selfishness, but I mean, again, they have a duty, and to shirk your duties, even for a good reason, is still, shirking your duties. They need to move forward and get to the other side and help the other village, and they can't do that if the guide refuses to bring Lu with them. And so what are they to do but to listen to the guide, the one who is getting them across? There's very little that they could do, and so I mean, there's not much there. You just have to go with it. Go with the flow.
I don't know. It's possible you helping would have worked better. It's also possible it would have been worse.
Yeah, who's to say? Bemelle stares across the empty waters of Sinnlos.
I want it to be clear that I have not forgotten that those people across this lake are depending upon us. Not for a moment. But would they want us to be so focused on them that we should turn a blind eye to others right in front of us?
But you weren't turning a blind eye. The guide flat out completely refused to allow Lu to come along with you for his own reasons, but you can't change his mind. That was the decision that he made.
Even if they would, does that matter? We are more than weapons. We are people. Do we have to cast that aside, turn away from our fellow humans, just to achieve a so-called greater good?
No, but as a human, you have free will. You have the ability to make a choice. And choices, regardless of how minuscule, all carry a consequence. They carry a result. And the choice that they had was to go against the guide and help Lu, or not go against the guide and allow Lu, who, for all that he was showing, was saying he doesn't want the help. We know his underlying actions, his demeanor made it seem like he wanted the help, but he didn't ask for the help. In fact, if anything, he said, with the things that he said, he was saying he didn't want the help. And so you had two choices: either allow Lu to part and follow the guide, or defy the guide and try to help Lu out, but then possibly not carry out the duty that you were initially assigned to. Yeah, you don't have to turn away from your humanity, but you do have to make choices, and those choices all carry consequences whether we like them or not. But as humans, we have the free will to make those choices. And so, I mean, it sucks, but nothing is black or white. You just have to make the best choice that you can and live with the outcome. And hopefully it's something that you can live with, because, I mean, those are the results. You can't turn back time, right?
It is not as though this village is a haven of saints. They are only as worthwhile as we are, and these people on the bridges with us, aren't they?
Absolutely. But you made a choice. Also, you chose to follow the guide. You chose to listen to him, because what more can you do? Without the guide, would you have been able to get through the bridges on your own?
I don't know.
Exactly. I can feel the weight of his words settle upon me. I've had similar thoughts and have questioned what the correct choice is, but unlike Bemelle, I've always been silent. I clench my fists tight to try and stop from saying something rash. Bemelle closes his eyes tight and rubs his face again. It is clear this hasn't been enough to give him much peace. Eventually, his eyes reopen and look directly into mine.
What do you think about all this, Kikka? Please, Be honest with me. I want to hear it.
Suddenly, my eyes are hot. My vision blurs slightly from tears I desperately am trying to hold back.
I really don't know. That is the truth.
Yeah, like I said, we all make choices, and like it or not, those choices, things happen with them. And Kikka didn't know what to do. She just made the best choice that she could given the circumstances and the information that she had. Was it the right one? Who knows? Does anybody really care? Because is there really such a good thing as a good choice versus a bad choice? Maybe they're both bad choices. Maybe they're both good choices. Maybe one is more good or bad in comparison, but it's never black and white like that. And she just made the only decision that she could. My words are soft. Whether he heard or not, the look on my face is enough to garner attention. His eyebrows shoot up in surprise. He walks over to me slowly, concerned.
Kikka, what is troubling you?
I don't have the answers to what you were wondering. Who are we meant to protect? Everyone we can? Whoever we're told to serve and no one else? Just ourselves? Should we only try to protect others when the risk is minimal? I have no idea what the right option is.
What if there are no right options, though? Bemelle's confusion only mounts with my words.
I am sorry for disappointing you.
No, you haven't disappointed me in any way. I never should have expected someone else to give me answers to those kinds of questions.
Yeah, I think he was just thinking aloud. I feel like he's the type of guy to have a stream of consciousness, He just talks out of whatever comes out of his brain. I don't think he's looking to be seen a very particular way. He's just who he is. Kikka is very reserved. She tries to keep herself confident, tries to keep herself looking strong. And we found out in Margaret's run why, but yeah, that is something she has to measure herself, especially as a woman in this day and age. Well, actually, even today, a lot of women have to measure their actions and their words in order to be taken seriously. And I think that's what Kika's going through right now.
It is only... I did not think that...
He does not finish his thought, but I know what he meant to say.
You did not think I was concerned with these issues?
He smiles awkwardly over being caught.
Yes. You never seemed to be bothered by anything we experienced before now.
Yeah, that's the thing about leaders, There are different types of leaders, and there are some where what they do is they hold themselves back in order to foster the loyalty or the confidence or the skill of those that follow them. And in this instance, Kikka is trying to keep a level head, or the appearance of a level head, to make sure that her subordinates, like Bemelle, feel that they can continue without feeling the burden of a bad decision, without thinking too much into what goes into what they have to do, or the morality of what they have to do, what they need to do, or ordered to do. And I guess he just never thought about that until Kikka opened up to him at this point in time. With his words, my carefully held resolve crumbles. In an instant, my cheeks are wet with hot fluid cooling in the chill air as it slips down my face.
I've always cared. I've always been afraid and confused, but I have kept up a...
Yeah, she has to keep up the appearances. I stop and gasp for air, my throat almost as tight as when we were running on the bridges.
A farce of strength in order to get by.
I breathe deeply with relief, terrified and lightheaded from my confession. Bemelle's voice is as delicate as flower petals.
I had no idea. How could I not have noticed?
Because she didn't let you notice. She wanted you to feel confident in her, to know that she was confident, so that you didn't have any worries or concerns so that you could work at your best to perform at your best.
Because I did whatever I could to make sure no one did. I have never wished to appear weak in front of others. But the truth is, I barely get through each day. I often feel overwhelmed with sadness at all that we have experienced.
That's a lot of people. They hold it back in order to put up appearances because maybe that is what society expects of us. Maybe that is what we feel is normal. We want to feel normal and not feel outcasted, not to feel different. And we put up these appearances to avoid confrontation, to avoid ridicule. Not really the best way to go about it, but it is the way or only way or the easiest way people in general feel that they can get by. And if it works, I mean, it works, but for how long and at what cost? You know? Although I guess if you're true to yourself and allow your emotions to get the better of you, to allow yourself to be vulnerable, there's a cost associated with that as well. And I suppose then it is a choice, and you just have to deal with the consequence of that choice, just like with any other choice. Bemelle gently places his hands on my shoulders as I try not to sob wildly.
Kikka, I truly apologize for all the thoughtless things I have said to you.
I shake my head, sniffling.
There is no need for you to apologize.
Yeah. This dude has, like, so much emotion and feeling coursing through him, and he's true to himself. And, yeah, he truly did not think that Kikka was going through a hard time because, you know, maybe his good nature, it makes him assume everyone else is similar and not hiding a piece of themselves from others, and that they would be open and honest about their feelings and about their thoughts. But not everyone is. He smiles, the warmth almost enough to make me forget the damp.
I beg to differ. I have failed to treat you right.
And here he is trying to cheer her
You
up.
have always been respectful.
A person needs more than respect from their comrades. They also need support. I have never given you that kind of consideration because I believed someone like you did not need it.
The same could be said for me.
Nonsense. You have listened to my rambling on more occasions than I can remember. Though I admit my memories may not be there due to being drunk many of those times.
Hopefully those of you listening right now don't think that I can be counted among people like Bemelle in the event of things that he is describing right now. Hopefully I am coming off clear and that my thoughts are coming across well thought out, or at least worded in such a way that can be understood. Although I guess even when I am not impaired, so to speak, I feel like there are times where my speech is not the greatest. I measure my words. Speaking of measuring ourselves, that's what I do. I measure the words that I speak. Diction, and sometimes that causes my speech to be inconsistent, or rather a bit pause and go, because I'm thinking of words and I don't always have the word that I need right at hand. So hopefully that doesn't deter any of you from continuing watching. I hope that the thoughts that I have continue to, instill a thought or an emotion or a memory or something that makes you feel like, that you'd want to continue. I enjoy just going through experiences, and hopefully you can join me in these experiences with my Let's Plays, and I hope that, that comes across. Bemelle laughs at himself while glancing in my direction to encourage me to do the same. His comforting words make me smile, and I feel my tears finally cease to fall. then I will continue to support you. Yeah, we're there. We're here for you, bro. We're here for you. He grins wider than he has since we began this horrible journey.
You have my thanks.
And you have my axe. If you know what that reference is from, please put it in the comments. I want to know how many people have watched this movie or read the books.
And you have mine.
Abruptly, his expression becomes serious once more.
I will come to answer these questions someday. But no matter what I decide, I will still put trust in your judgment.
That's right, because they've been through so much together, and he trusts her with his life. And I think he will continue to do so because she is a good person, she is a good leader, and she's done a remarkable job so far, because otherwise he would not have confided in her and confessed with her so often with so many different things. I fear I may not live up to the belief he seems to have in me, but I nod firmly. He returns my nod.
Perhaps we should go check how everything is on the island.
That sounds like an excellent idea. And I will accompany you, of course.
Bright and cheery.
Glad to hear it.
Nice to see them together. Together, we walk back towards the interior of the island. Both our moods lift as we stay side by side. Bemelle and I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that could be called a path, but we manage to pick our way through the brush quite well. Through the thinner stand of trees, we briefly catch sight of the guide standing on one of the beaches. He seems fine, but even though I'm sure he turned his head toward me, he makes no show of acknowledging us. Continuing on, Bemelle and I cross the island in search of Margaret. Out of nowhere, a shudder runs down my spine and I barely stop myself from checking behind me. Darkness flickers through my mind and I hold my breath. Whoa! So, what is causing this dark feeling behind her? A pat on my back brings me back into the light, a reminder that I am not alone. I look up to see Bemelle, his touch more comforting than words could be. I don't remember this being here. I wonder if she's getting some kind of premonition that something bad is about to happen. And I wonder if, like, there's something that she feels is coming after her. And I wonder if it's because we spoke to Bemelle and we have our spirits lifted, that now there's something coming to take all of that away from us. I wonder. I suppose we will find out, won't we? Suddenly, I know I do not need to hide my emotions. There is no reason to act as though nothing is wrong when it is. Bemelle already knows. I've hidden my emotions for so long that it is still my first instinct, but somehow I sense an assurance from him. Bemelle will be there to remind me that it is okay, and to support me when I feel I might break from the weight of our experiences. I give Bemelle a hesitant glance. He notices and returns my gaze, staring into my eyes. I feel the words spill out of my mouth before I realize what I'm saying.
Would you like to take a walk with me?
Oh, are they gonna have a lover's walk? Oh, isn't that sweet? Right after crossing half of Sinnlos and right before crossing the other half. Yeah, that's sweet and romantic. But you know what? Let's go for it. This is, I don't know, let's call it BAE Bemelle 2, all right? Because we're with our BAE Bemelle. I take a moment to part some brush out of my path before explaining myself.
We could pass around the edges of the forest where there's less in the way. There doesn't need to be a purpose to the walk. It only needs to be a way to spend time together.
You know, I really like how Kikka, even though she's trying to allow herself to be vulnerable, she is still strong because she's the one that came up to him and was like, "Yo, let's go for a walk, all right? Because you and me, you know, let's just hang, you know, you and me, let's hang together. What do you think?" You know, because it could have been him. You know, he could have come out and been like, "You know, yo girl, I like spending time with you. I like the way you look. Let's just, chill out and see what goes what. There's no Netflix yet, but let's just chill,
I would prefer that to not doing anything.
I would be delighted to accompany you, Kikka.
Delighted is the word. I'm gladdened by his response, though it only makes me feel all the sillier for suggesting it.
Perhaps it may be better not to after all. We'll be walking all throughout the night.
Yeah, but you guys are guards. You're fit. So you're more fit than Margaret, so you're better off than her as far as figuring out how to make all of this work out.
I believe I've spent quite enough time resting. If I'm being honest, I think I need a break from all this waiting around.
Restlessness. My lips curl into a smile. Oh, girl. Go get you some.
All right. We'll do that then.
All right. Oh, shoot.
All right. We'll do that then.
Oh, man. I don't know what to pick here. Let's save first. Or maybe we'll pick up from this save file. Because... would it be good to bring her with us or just talk to her first? Because this sounds like it could be a romantic moment between Kikka and Bemelle, and having Margaret there could be a third wheel, and maybe that would be bad. But maybe the intent is to get everybody together and we'll all have a good outcome if we're all on the same page, maybe. Maybe for this one, what I'll do is I won't invite her on the walk, which, thinking about it, I don't think that would be a good idea generally anyways, because she is not in the fittest condition. She was having some problems back there out on the bridge, and maybe it's best that she continue getting as much rest as she can. So in that regard, maybe it would be best that she stay on the island and just kind of wait it out until the guide comes back. Meanwhile, these two can go on a lover's hike. And then maybe the next run after that, we can try to see what it's like to invite her on the walk and see what goes. So honestly, my memory's terrible, so hopefully I remember all of this and all what I'm suggesting to do. Because yes, I do edit my videos, I watch them over, and then after I post them, I watch them again before I publish them. But even then, sometimes that's a long time in between, and I forget things. And like even right now, I'm a little too lazy to write it down. I really should, but I don't want to. With that said, let's continue, shall we? All right, let's after we speak to Margaret.
Of course. That's our first priority.
Yeah, let's see if the two of them can brighten her mood or lift her spirits.
Thank you, Bemelle.
Bemelle moves a little closer to me.
I'm happy to.
Oh, you guys. I'm not sure if we'll be of much help, but there's no way I'm leaving Margaret all alone here for longer. She may want someone to talk to. She definitely will, guys. She definitely will. It takes longer than I had hoped to track through the brambles, but we find her in decent enough time. Margaret begrudgingly lifts her head as we approach, enabling me to see that her face is damp and tear-stained, while her eyes are red and puffy. She's been crying. I shift uncomfortably on my feet.
Is something the matter?
Margaret releases a humorless laugh.
I take it the guards are doing their rounds.
You don't need to be snarky, girl. Bemelle and I each steal a glance at one another. Bemelle lightly chuckles.
It seems we are. Old habits die hard.
Oh man, he's like lightening the mood. What a guy, man. What a guy.
Well, that's nice.
She speaks somewhat curtly, but at least she no longer seems as depressed.
I'm happy to report that everything's in order on this front.
Good to hear that.
Margaret isn't saying what's actually on her mind, but I have no way to reach her.
Is that everything?
Yeah, because... The reason is because she can't open herself with two people, right? she could open herself to Kikka because she and Kikka can relate, specifically for the reasoning for why Margaret was here in the first place. But for Bemelle to be here is probably difficult. Ooh. I wonder if it would have been best to get everyone across, if it would have been best to talk to Margaret alone as Kikka, because Margaret can open up to Kikka, and then when they go to Bemelle, I don't know if Bemelle would open up to Kikka as well as if Margaret were there, but maybe he would, because he seems to be a very open book, emotions on his sleeve kind of guy, and I wonder if he would still open himself up. I feel like he would, but then what would happen with Kikka? Kikka was able to open up to Bemelle because they've been working together. You know, they know each other. Maybe she wouldn't feel as comfortable being as vulnerable as she was with Margaret there, but that would have been after she opened herself up with Margaret as well, so who knows? That might be something that I have to investigate once we go with the Margaret run, maybe. I don't know. Is that worth? Should I? Does that make a big difference if we go back and do it that way? I don't know. Again, I should write this down, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna go with the flow, alright? I'm just gonna go with the flow. Bemelle scratches his chin.
We can leave you for now if that's what you'd like. Wouldn't want to be a nuisance.
That would be most appreciated. I'd like to have a little time to myself before we return back out there.
Yeah, because she's not having it, guys. She's not having it.
We'll be around if anything comes up.
Maybe at this point, she wouldn't have wanted to come around with us anyways. Sounds like she's going through some stuff. And I don't think she wants to be around other people at the moment. Especially, like, if she has to be vulnerable. Yeah, so even if we invited her, she probably wouldn't have accepted anyways.
Thank you for that and for stopping by.
I smile at her. Bemelle gives a wave.
Be well.
Yeah. Be cool, girl. Be cool.
Goodbye.
The two of us leave Margaret, as per her request. I swallow thickly as we go. I can only hope that Margaret will be able to sort through her thoughts before it is too late. Bemelle lightly squeezes my hand, garnering my attention.
So, would you still be interested in our little stroll?
Oh, you boy, yeah, go get it. Go get it.
Yes, that would be nice.
Oh, look at them, the power couple. Bemelle beams at me.
We best be heading out then.
Bemelle pointedly tightens his grip on my hand, despite already holding my attention. I return his squeeze. A bashful expression washes over him, though it's not enough to make him let go. We reach the edge where the shore meets the forest and trek along it. Bemelle makes small talk on just about anything and everything. It reminds me of our journey before we reach the lake. The more I dwell on it, though, the more I realize how drastically things have changed in a matter of days. Bemelle's discourse forms a mirror from one time to another in my mind, casting all that has changed in glaring silver. He swings our hands back and forth slightly as he continues to lead the conversation, trying not to let me become too absorbed in my troubling musings. Wow, look at that! He's already swinging her arm like it's just a sunny day out on the beach, no problems, no matters, but little do they know they have to cross Sinnlos again. After winding our way around a large stretch of the island, a massively overgrown tree intersects our path. I move to push the offending branches out of the way, but Bemelle stops me.
Please, let me handle this.
My hero! I let my arm fall as I watch him. Bemelle unsheaths his sword and chops the branches down with a single blow. He releases a hearty laugh and I grin at him, the sheer audacity of the action enabling me to ignore his sword misuse. Yeah, you don't need to do that with your sword because the more you hack at things with your sword, the more it dulls, and he's gonna need it to be sharpened.
It's been far too long since I've taken it out.
That's what she said.
At this rate, I'll forget how to even use a sword before we arrive.
That is also what she... I don't know. I'm gonna leave that one alone.
I see.
Thanks, Kikka. I unsheath my own sword and level the honed edge at him.
Would you be up for a bout of sparring?
Oh, now they're playing together. He doesn't miss a beat.
I'll accept that.
I step onto the sand to give us a little space, and Bemelle eagerly trails behind me. Aww, they're so happy together. Once we find our footings, Bemelle assumes a defensive stance, center turned away from me and sword drawn in front of his body. I do the same as I circle him swiftly, being sure to stay just out of his striking distance as I watch for the slightest tell of an opening. Whenever he attempts to put some space between us, I dart in towards his back, forcing him to stay mostly in place to defend. I take 3 sharp jabs before what I was hoping for what happens. As he turns to face me, one of his feet lands slightly out of place in the loose sand, and I take my opening, striking immediately. Bemelle regains his balance just before I make contact though, parrying and using his heavier frame to force me back a few steps, even as I jump out of the sword lock. Hoping to get me off balance from his push, he strikes, but I weave out of the way. Bemelle has more strength and a larger striking distance than I do, so I've learned to capitalize on my higher agility and smaller hit zone when facing him, even if I usually prefer a more grounded strategy. We trade blows, neither of us ever scoring a hit, but both keeping each other on edge. For a little while, time flows past us easily, and there is nothing that matters but avoiding an attack that will never be lethal, grinning as our steel clashes. Noticing my labored breathing, I call off the fight.
Stop. We can't exert all our energy here.
That's what she said. Bemelle releases a winded chuckle.
Thank God there's at least one of us responsible enough to point that out.
Yeah, I would say responsibility is not the first word that comes up to me when I think of Bemelle. Not to say that he isn't responsible, it's not the first word that comes up. I smile and return my sword to its scabbard. Bemelle does likewise and glances over at me.
Would it perhaps be all right to at least finish our stroll before sitting back down again?
Oh, you such a playboy, you.
We shouldn't go the entire length of the island, but I suppose we can walk just a little longer.
Yeah, she just wants some time with him. These two.
It's a deal.
Walk closer to Bemelle. Yes, please. I allow myself to drift closer to Bemelle. There's not too much space between us as we walk side by side. Bemelle views me from the corner of his eye and looks more than pleased. For a brief moment, all of the troublesome circumstances seem to float away from our minds, and we enjoy each other's company. I wish it could go on for so much longer, but it's only a little while that I have to speak up.
We really should rest before nightfall.
I'm fine with that idea.
Yeah, I mean, you guys sparred to the point of being heavy in breath, so, I mean, it's probably a good idea. At least you'll be more... You'll still be rested enough to go through the crossing. Bemelle leads us over to the area where the guide mentioned we were going to meet. He lowers himself down onto the ground and stretches out right there, presumably intending to wait until the guide arrives. That's a little more dramatic of resting than I planned. I walk over and make myself comfortable next to him, though not as comfortable as he has made himself. It isn't very long until Margaret appears. She doesn't comment on our resting positions, however, she's clearly smirking about it.
Hello, Margaret.
Are you still holding up fine?
I would rather speak of anything other than that.
Yeah, she's going through a lot of stuff, and she didn't open up to us, so She had to go through all of that herself, and I don't know if she has finished going through all of it.
I think we can manage that.
The three of us quietly wait for the guide's arrival, occasionally chatting with one another as we rest. Alright, here it goes, guys. Here it goes. The sky turns orange as sunset comes upon us. As the color seems to drain from the world, being consumed by the fog, the guide makes his appearance.
It's almost time.
I nod and feel myself grow tense. We truly are about to return to those bridges. All of us wait in an uncomfortable silence until night falls. We silently stand as one, forming a vigil of sorts. Our remaining lanterns illuminate the dark, prepared for tonight's journey. And yet, the way forward does not appear. The bridges haven't risen from the depths. I glance to my side. The guide doesn't look at all pleased. The corners of his mouth have a harsh bent as he briefly loses himself to heavy thoughts. Oh, guys, what is going on? What's going on? This is way different. This is so different. Oh my god. Okay. Calm down, Dan. Calm down. Okay. Let me save. I need to save. Safety save. Okay. If you have any questions for why I save where I do, I have no reason. I just feel like I need to save just in case, because Kikka had that premonition, like, of something dark coming and like touching her on the back before turning around and realizing it was Bemelle. That was new to me, and I feel like, sorry, I'm just like speaking a mile a minute right now, but I feel like that was just like, that's the little premonition of something to come, and here it is, something's coming, and the bridges didn't rise, and now the guide is all upset, and like he's like thinking of all kinds of things are racing through his mind, and I don't know what's going on, and okay, calm down, all right. Take a breath. Okay, in and out. All right, let me take a swig of water. Okay. Woosa. All right, I've calmed down a bit. Let's continue.
We must go to the shore.
He doesn't offer an explanation for why. Instead, he goes on without us. I follow after the guide, my forehead creasing with swelling worry. Behind me, I hear Bemelle's and Margaret's unsure footsteps. The four of us press onto the shore. The dark waters lap at the edges of the sand, and as expected, the maze is still hidden beneath the surface. The guide grips his staff tighter still, his knuckles turning ghostly white. He sucks in a breath of air, like he's about to speak, but he hesitates. We all stare at him expectantly. Now, I spoke earlier about myself using diction, and that's a personal thing, like the specific use of specific words. Now, I don't know if the writers for this game have a similar quirk, but they wrote his knuckles turning ghostly white. And he was about to speak, but he hesitates. I wonder if that's because, like, maybe. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to speculate that in previous runs, we've lost 2 people, okay? We've always lost at least 2 people. So, I wonder, Lou got taken the first night. He had to have, because he's gone, right? He's a goner. Normally, I lose another person by this point. Now, I wonder if Sinnlos is like, well, you didn't pay the toll. You need 2 people, 1 for each side of the crossing. So, I'm not putting up any bridges until you putting out some people and some souls. And what if this is at a point where the guide has to go like, well, I'm gonna tell you guys right now that we're gonna have to sacrifice somebody, and then we have to make a choice. Like, is that what's gonna happen? I could just continue, but I enjoy speculating. Okay. Sorry. Alright. After a moment more, the guide is fed up with waiting.
The bridges are late. If they don't arrive as soon as darkness falls, there's no telling exactly how long it will be before they do.
Oh, so he knows that this happens on occasion. But why is it happening tonight? Why hasn't it happened before? What's going on here? Bemelle's face immediately sours, and he isn't able to stay silent about his feelings.
So we're going to waste our time standing idly by. There's hardly enough time to make the trip as it is.
For real, there really isn't. Like, they need the bridges to come when they do, because they gotta make lots of time to get across to the other side. It's and even then, like, who knows if they do make it? There's no guarantee.
Complaining won't make these bridges come any sooner, though I sympathize with your frustrations. The wait had already been tense as it was. Not knowing how much longer it will last makes it that much more dreadful.
Indeed.
Time is by far the least of our worries. On the bridges we are constantly moving, which makes it easier to avoid the prowlers. However, this island does not offer that luxury. We're trapped here.
That's true. They're trapped. So if the bridges don't come, they are on the island, and they're easy pickings, especially if the prowlers know that there is prey on the island and they just surround the place, because they have to know, right? Well, I guess that's part of the reason why the guide has like light footsteps that you can barely hear him, is because of stuff like that. Because how would he know unless he's survived through some of this at some point? Because who's going to survive long enough to give him the story of how things happen? He's the guide, right? My body goes rigid as his words sink in.
More importantly, the bridges are raised above the waters. Nixi have difficulties pulling themselves up onto the bridges. The soft sloping of the shore will allow far more prowlers to drag themselves towards us.
Exactly. If they swarm, you're gone. It's over.
Not all will be as dangerous as the ones we've encountered thus far. However, we could easily be overwhelmed.
That's what I'm saying. If there's a whole bunch of them, you guys are gone, because you can't kill them. You can't use the swords. The only thing you can use is the light. But even then, they'll try to drag the light with them into the water. And like, if you're attached to that light, you're gone too. A pit forms deep in my stomach. I stare at him aghast. I had no idea the situation was that dire. I glance from the waterline to the trees. What I'm looking for, I don't know. A sign of what might be to come, perhaps.
I wonder if those fires had anything to do with this.
We know that they didn't, but yeah, Bemelle is starting to be very suspicious of the guide, and I have been so far, so I don't know. Bemelle's words are biting as he wonders aloud. The guide answers Bemelle firmly, wanting to put an end to the speculation.
No. Whatever magic controlling the bridges is inconsistent. Humans haven't found a way to impact it. We can only do temporary physical damage to the boards.
Huh. Humans haven't found a way to impact it. Now, if one were to look at words and impart meaning to specific words used in specific places, one might say that if you were inhuman, there might be a way to impact it, and that it is known, and it's just that only the humans haven't found a way to impact it. So I'm looking at you, guide. I'm looking at you. Bemelle is still displeased. Margaret moves into discussion. Her mood is rapidly declining as well.
Then what should we do? We shouldn't stay on the shore if the monsters could be coming towards us at any moment.
Yes, thank you for stating the obvious. The guide closes his eyes and suddenly looks very worn down.
Staying in the center of the island is the safest option. However, there's the risk that we may not be able to reach the bridges when they do rise. Prowlers could have taken full control of the shore by then.
Oh my god, are we gonna have to make a choice on what we do here? God.
Remaining here with our lanterns will ensure the prowlers cannot move freely.
My My brows involuntarily knit together. I don't like the sound of taking additional risks in an area that is already so dangerous, but our options are thin.
I will not be kept on this island for another day, so the shore is where I will be. You may wait at the edge of the forest, or even at the center of the island if you fear being attacked.
Oh, we have to make a choice. Dude.
If the prowlers come between us and you fail to make it to the bridges, I will leave you behind.
Yeah, dude's been consistent about that. Like, my man's been like, you know, I'm gonna go, and if you follow, you follow. If you don't follow, that's on you. He's been very consistent about that. Bemelle spits hatefully under his breath.
Of course you would.
Again, he's been pretty consistent with the way he's been, like, you know, stating that's what he would do. So I'm not surprised. I can understand your anger, but it is not unexpected. True, generosity is not something I would expect from the guide, but that is not the conversation we need to have at this moment. The guide has made his decision, and we must make ours. Oh, we do have to make a decision. All right, look. All right, save again. All right, so now I will say I have my misgivings about the guide. I truly do. I don't know who he is, what he is, his motivations, or anything of that. But I will say that in all of my playthroughs, my Let's Plays, listening to the guide and following his directions has always led me to the end. And following upon that line of thinking and line of decisions and the successes we've had, I have to say that listening to him is most likely the decision that we need to do. So, with that, you're gonna guess that I'm gonna defy him. No. I want to. Maybe I'll come back if I remember to see what the other options are like. But I think we have to listen to him and, like, follow in his decision. Again, because if, like you said, if the bridges come up, he's just gonna go. And if we can't make it to the bridges, we're stuck. We're on our own. And there's nothing to be said about that. So, I mean, really, the only true option is to stay with him. Yeah, true, there are other options. Stay by the shore, by the center of the island, or stay toward the edge of the forest. But, I mean, even so, if the bridges come up, like, we're screwed. But if the bridges don't come up and they end up swarming the beach, I mean, we're screwed. But so is the guide. And without the guide, we're screwed anyways, regardless, right? So really the only true choice, realistically, is to stay with the guide. And so that's what we're going to do.
If you were staying by the shore, perhaps I could be positioned somewhat further back from you, and then the others could stay further back still. That would keep us safer, without having any major gaps of darkness between us and the shore.
Ah. Kikka, you always thinking, aren't you? Always thinking, yeah. Because the other two, Bemelle and Margaret, would be safer being further back, but with multiple lights along the way, between the guide, between Kikka and Margaret's light, it would have an amount of light on the shore so that they wouldn't be swarmed by the Nixi, and so they wouldn't control the beach. And so if the bridges come up, Kikka could be like, yo, bridges are coming up, get your butts over there. That would reduce some of the time and give them the allowance to be able to get to the bridges, and upon the bridges going along toward with the guide. So I wonder if that's what we do.
Good suggestion, Kikka.
Yeah. My girl always thinking.
I'd say that's likely our best option, and we don't have time to come up with any other way regardless.
Settled on the matter, the three of us begin to move away from the guide. He pays little attention to us, instead silently fixing his eyes on the water. Yeah, because he doesn't care. Like, whether we follow him or not, it doesn't matter to him. He'll just report back and say, yeah, all 3 of them died. All right, whatever. If you guys got any more people that you want to cross, let me know. All right, peace. You know, because like he hasn't survived crossing Sinnlos so many times because he's generous. And in previous playthroughs, basically we get the feeling that he just wants people not to cross at all, you know? I take my place in the middle of the shore while Bemelle and Margaret hover closer to the island's core on the line between dirt and sand. After getting a sense of where they are, I turn my gaze ahead. At first, I think I'm being fooled by the fog. There are several white dots playing along the edges of the water. Dark globes begin to surface, and I see them for what they are. Eyes. So many white, dribbling eyes gleaming sharply against their pitch-black bodies as the Nixi bob up and down. Ooh, that's gotta be a sight, right? Like, imagine seeing that in the fog. Woo! Jesus. They surface and disappear in a loop, each time more sets of eyes and closer, surveying us more intently. Then they cackle. The sound is atrocious, gurgling, then turning high-pitched as they seem to take full stock of us. The lights in their eyes somehow seem brighter as the first of the Nixi dig their claws into the sand and begin dragging themselves upon the shore. I plant my feet firmer. A shrill shriek pierces the air, accompanied by a telltale hiss. I whip my head backwards toward the sound, only to be greeted by coal-black darkness. I cry out desperately into the void where Margaret and Bemelle stood.
What happened?
There's silence. Then the best possible. Margaret's voice replies, albeit shakily.
There was a prowler in the woods. I didn't notice it until it was already too close to me. I dropped my lantern when I saw it.
Oh,
The
shoot.
light was enough to drive it away, but now it's gone. Shattered.
Oh, Jesus. You were the only other person with a lantern, but what about Bemelle? Where is he? I swerve my head back to make sure the shore is still clear before I sprint over to release them from the darkness with my own light. Margaret stares down at the ground dejectedly when I arrive. Bemelle has his hand placed on her shoulder. Okay, oh. Woo. He's still good, okay. Woo. Dude, we spent so much time with him, I don't want to lose him again.
I didn't see the thing either. The monster blended in far too well with the dark, crooked trees of this place.
Let's stop talking and get over toward the guide because, like, again, if the bridges come up, he's gone. He's peacing out. He gives me a sad smile as I approach the two closer.
We can make a small fire for light.
Margaret sniffles loudly.
That may work for now, but what will we do once we're back on the bridges?
We will manage.
Yes, well, we'll just have to do what we have to do. I speak firmly, trying to assure her. I can't even guess how effective the attempt was. Bemelle begins to gather dry twigs, stones, and grass to create a fire with. Margaret moves to help him, though she still looks terribly upset. I feel awful. It wasn't her fault. We dig a few inches down in the sandy soil before making an edging with the rocks to stop the fire from giving us a repeat of last night. I layer the fuel quickly and light a match at the base of the pit. Margaret stokes the fire with Bemelle feeding in twigs. The grass ignites easily and showers the area with enough light to keep anything else that may be lurking in the forest at bay. I release a discreet sigh. We're truly lucky no one was injured or lost during the ordeal. I keep that thought to myself, however. Hearing it would only make Margaret feel worse.
You should go back to your position, Kikka. It will all be for nothing if we can't make it onto the bridges in the first place.
That is true. We don't even know if the guide is still there right now. Like, 100%.
Right.
I force myself to sound bold.
We're going to get through this.
Margaret attempts to smile at me, and Bemelle waves as I cautiously back up to my original position. I return my full focus on the shore. As we feared, this becoming a pressing situation. More prowlers rose from the waters while my attention was on those two. They've surrounded the guide on both sides. The only way to gain distance from them would be to delve further into the island, yet the guide shows no signs of giving up his position. He remains where he is, resolving to keep all the monsters near him in his sight. I grow more unnerved the longer I watch this. The guide seemed impervious to the dangers of Sinnlos. This is the first case where I can't tell whether he will continue to be fine as always or not. It's a distressing notion. Yeah, like, what's up with that? Like, in other runs previously, it always seems like he's under control. He's got this. Like, always. And he never seems to be, like, really in danger. Like, and this time, it's like the first time we've really seen him, like, really get really close to the danger. But yet, I will say, like, he's still, like, just chill. He's not moving, he's not doing anything, and it's just, hey, everything's all good, you know? So, yeah, I honestly, I don't know what to think about this guy. Is he just, like, has he crossed so many times that even this is old hat to him? I mean, he knew that this stuff happens, but, like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, guys, this recording is getting really long. I still have some time, so I'm gonna keep going, but the recording file is gonna get really long, so I'm gonna stop the recording and I'm gonna restart it just so that I don't lose any recording or have any crashes or anything. So just give me a moment, please. I will be right back.